I mean, what is 35 million ounces anyway? What is 34 million if in 1 month much more than that is sent off by the London Metals Exchange? Maybe it is rehypothecated. Maybe those numbers are make believe. Are we to believe the CME group? I don't know. But I will say, in my opinion, we are closer to that moment than ever before, 100%. And, I don't know Tyler. I've talked to him a few times. He seems like a very, very honorable, straight shooting guy. So I have no reason to believe that he wouldn't say that if he didn't believe it. And I wouldn't dispute it. I can't really refute it and I can't confirm it, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, certainly will be interesting to see how that shakes out. And again, it sounds like we're not just talking about a supply chain issue where, things are getting gummed up in between refiners and suppliers, that they're actually having a hard time sourcing the underlying silver metal. Would that be accurate to say, or is it still just the refineries are slowing down, and where is the heart of the problem at this point?
It can't be that they're just all at overcapacity. I mean, let's look at the U.S. Mint as an example. I mean, the U.S. Mint in '08 and '09 and in that area, they were making 50 million ounces a year. And this month, I think they'll make 14 or 15 million. I mean, they were doing, what were they doing? 50 million a month, roughly. Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. And now they're doing I think, is that right? Does that number sound right? Or 50 million a year, excuse me.
Yeah.
They were doing 50 million a year. And now, like, this month will be, I don't know, a tiny, tiny, tiny amount. I'm getting my numbers mixed up, but let me just say this. It's a fraction of what they're doing. They're doing like 85,000 a month or something like that. So if they're lucky, we'll do 10 million this year, 13 million, something like that, 12 million. And they have the capacity to do a whole hell of a lot more than that. I think it's just becoming very difficult to get silver, and there is an awful lot of overcapacity. I mean, there are open orders that go out, and certainly that's part of it. But something bigger is at foot here, and that is, I think it's becoming harder to get product. It's from this level. Now, if you're talking the good delivery bars, if what Tyler is saying is true, well, when that comes up, then it's good night, Irene, because I don't know where you're going to get it. I have no idea. If all of a sudden you get to that point, the all-time low, I think, in registered was around 20 million ounces, I think. And if at the rate we're going, we're pretty close to that. At some point, they have to say you can't take delivery any longer, or the whole system blows up. So, Chris, I don't know. I just think, because I don't have any way of answering that definitively, simply to say it's a combination of way more demand than there is supply and capacity. So it's a little bit of both, I would say.
Yeah, and if we look at that COMEX registered, again, under 35 million ounces, how would you compare this to 2016 and 2011, where we did see lower numbers? Metal came back into the exchange after both of those times, but how would you compare what we're seeing now to those previous periods?
Well, 2016, I think, is a little bit, none of this is like what we're seeing right now. I mean, in 2011, you could argue everyone was buying it because it was going to 50 and everyone thought it was going to go much higher. In 2016, everyone was selling it, and there wasn't really, no one was buying it. So I don't know that they had to have massive inventories on COMEX. It had very little demand at all, at least from a retail perspective. And when you look at what's happening right now, to me, what is different than any time in my entire career is that my entire life, Chris, the United States was the place to be. Everyone wanted to invest in the US, and precious metals were an afterthought. That's not the case anymore. And I think the world is awoken. Look what happened in the UK. Look what's happening in Europe with riots everywhere. Look what's happening in Japan. Look what's happening everywhere. There is war, there's famine, there's energy problems, there's record high inflation all around the globe. There's people are concerned and waking up to this for the first time. So for the first time in my career, I think you have a global concern and a global awakening that fiat currencies are being destroyed and inflation is killing people. And after coming out of prolonged lockdowns and all of these things that have created anxiety and divisiveness and anger and stress, when you see record inflation on top of all of it and supply chain distortions, people are looking for the very first time, waking up. And it's still a very small amount. Like I say, the pimple on the elephant, but that alone has enough to wake people up. Now, I guess more than anything, what concerns me more than anything is this is a coordinated drawdown, not just on the COMEX, it's the LME and it's the ETFs. And that happens as the prices collapse. So it shouldn't be that way. And what is happening is betraying the price. What is happening is what the biggest money in the world always does. They front run the problem and they're using the rhetoric and the price to reposition before everyone figures it out. That's what's different this time. Before it was hope springs eternal and green shoots forever in the US with the dollar. And I think we have dug ourselves a hole that we can't get out of, because as rates continue to rise, we're going to have the same problem that they did in the UK. At some point, the bond managers have to sell and the pension funds have to sell, or they're just going to get destroyed, eviscerated. That's why you got Janet Yellen coming in saying that she wants to issue short-term treasuries to provide liquidity to the back end of the market. And she'll buy the 10 and the 30 year, which are loaded into these pensions that nobody wants, which are inverted in the yield curve right now. Anyway, we are at that part of the game where things are spinning out of control all over the world, and it's coming here too. And maybe that's why you're seeing these drawdowns before it happens. I think it's different than before because the world is different than before, and the United States is different than before, and maybe even retaining its world reserve status has a possibility that is different than before. So this is unlike anything I've seen, where I'm concerned about getting product. I'm concerned about premiums not coming back down, and I really believe this is just the beginning, and I wish I didn't.